Previously on Break the Cycles. I went up to Cabo del Villa with Winham, and then we split up in Valledupar and met up again in Giron. After a few days in Giron, I left for Medellin only to turn back around to go back to Valledupar to pick up a Sdeiling. After 2 days of sleeping on the floor in Andre's tiny apartment, I headed back to Giron to meet up with Stella. Having already made this run once the other way, I knew exactly what to expect, how long to take, the road condition, etc. However, coming out of Medellin was a different story. The roads are narrow and very steep. There doesn't seem to be any kind of standards for the road width, so even if you are going through a community road and there is like a car coming by and you're on a motorbike, it is still ridiculously tight trying to squeeze by each other. And everything's on a hill in Medellin. Like, you leave the neighborhood, you can still tell it's just a roller coaster up and down. And this kind of roller coaster going out of the community into like the city roads, it's like 40 minutes of this until I was finally out onto the main highway. And then I can take a breath and had an easy ride back to Giron. So I had a few days at Giron, and Stella recommended that I head over to Zapatoca. Now, Zapatoca is a high elevation town that was built in the 17th century by Spanish conquistadors. After I left Giron and headed south, I came across a vantage point overlooking the valley and the road going to Zapatoca. Do you recognize the familiarity of this road? It looks exactly the same as Mulholland Drive. Yes. The scenery, of course, is amazing throughout, but the drive to Zapatoca varies greatly. It was well paved in the beginning, proper lane paint, asphalt was smooth, but then the further south of the road you go, the worse it became. The guardrail disappeared. That's the first. And then the lines, of course, disappears. And then you see animals on the road, and you're like, okay, now I'm like very uncontrolled area. And finally, the road became unpaved, and then you got uneven surfaces, and then all the way until you get to the town of Zapatoca. And eventually, I got there. It was a very quaint town in the mountains. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful architecture and street design. And of course, it's on a mountain, so it's like mountain roads again. The narrow streets are shared by pedestrians, motorbikes, and car drivers alike. Like, it's just one street and everybody's on it. After some time, I made it to the town square where the main attraction is the big parish church of Iglesia de San Joaquin. And this is such a beautiful town. I could not recommend this place more. If you are in Colombia, the ride here was picturesque, the traffic was light, and even on a hot summer day, it was nice and cool in the mountains. I did not stay long and then went back to Giron soon after. I took a break the next day at Estella's and did not do much exploring. I spoke to Sdeiling and realized, well, I gotta buy her a helmet because she doesn't have anything that's good enough for the road. So the next day, Stella took me into Bucaramanga to shop for helmets. We visited a ton of stores looking for helmets. I figured I'll just buy something like last season's showy helmet. Maybe it'll be like $250, maybe $300, since I really like the showy quality and the fit. Until, of course, I came to the realization that anything in Colombia is taxed. Good quality stuff is heavily taxed, which means a nice used older showy helmet from last season is not $300. It is $600. So we pivoted really quickly to a local brand, and after some back and forth, selecting the color, we settled on this Rocket helmet. This helmet probably would have sold for like maybe $75 at Cycle Gear in the US, but this was nearly $150 in Colombia. The following day, I prepared the bike and my gear to head back to north to Valledupar. The gas is pretty cheap in Colombia, and on top of that, if you are very adventurous, there are multiple people literally just standing along the side of the road with milk jugs filled with gasoline from Venezuela that they will just dump into your bike for very little money. Sometimes it's a hit or miss. I headed north back to Valledupar the next day, and the ride back was pretty simple. And I remember to not pass the trucks on the highway, going onto the main road and the mountain road, and not pass the trucks if I wanted to live. Now, Sdeiling could not host me for 2 days, so I stayed with another couch surfer named Mauricio. Now, Mauricio's accommodation was pretty good. I had my own room, large bed, and there are four walls. The next day, I picked up Sdeiling from her house and took her to work and back. And later at night, I hung out with Mauricio, who introduced me to his friend and her daughter, who was super excited to meet me because I look like a K-pop person. Guess they don't get out very often. And I would experience this ridiculous celebrity status later on in another country. Is absolutely silly. The day after I said goodbye to Mauricio and headed to Estelin's and her parents' place, I washed my clothes and went out for some juice. Valledupar in northern Colombia in general is known for the fresh fruits and juices because the terrain is perfect for tropical fruits, and passion fruit is definitely my favorite, and I had way too many of these passion fruit smoothie juices. The next few days were the same drill. I took her to work, picked her up, and then spent some time after work. On one of the days, I got stung by a wasp on my bike again, and this one like stung me on my biceps. It was weird. I was able to use the same baking soda method that I use in Canada, where you like draw out the poison, so I didn't have any swelling or any issues. After 3 to 4 days, we were prepared to leave head on. It was a huge deal for Sdeiling and her family for her to take this trip. So we had a very slow start of the day. We kind of agreed, like, we'll see how it goes till the end of Colombia. If it works out, we'll go rest of the way. So this was kind of like a like a security for her. So by the time we were actually on our way, it was almost already lunchtime. So after about an hour on the road, we stopped by a roadside place, got some lunch, and we eventually arrived at Stella's place at night. The next day, I took Sdeiling to Zapatoca because it was such a wonderful place. The weather was not as good as the first time as I came through, but the ride was still absolutely fantastic. When we got to the town, we did a little more exploring than I did the first time I was there. So we visited Cueva del Nitro. It's a stalactite cave, not unlike the Luray Cavern, but it's very poorly maintained. There's a lot of trash everywhere and broken stalactite. It's pretty sad. But after the caving experience, we stopped by at the cafe in Zapatoca and then headed back to Giron. The following day, we explored more local areas around Giron and watched the sunset at the vantage point overlooking the city. As you remember this from my other videos, this was such a neat spot. I mean, the second time here, I still thought that this was such an amazing spot. Like, you can just literally park your bike on the side of the road and then just enjoy the sunset overlooking the city like every day. Then, of course, the inevitable happens. Next day, I ate something bad and I had a really, really shitty experience, literally. So, Sdeiling cooked some fresh breakfast for me, and I basically did nothing all day. Like, I couldn't leave the bathroom. It was rough. But one day of recovery, and I was ready to go. And the next day, we bid farewell to Stella and her mom, and we headed towards Medellin. Now, it was a familiar ride. I mean, this is like the third time I'm going through it, so this is an easy track. So by the time I got there, we took another host, and this host is in Bello. And Bello is like just north of Medellin. It's not in Medellin, it's just another city, but it's literally attached to it. This was such an epic place. Bello is basically on a mountain sliding up overlooking Medellin, and the host is on like in an apartment on like level like I don't know 20 something. So like it's a sky view towards the city. I'm not sure there could have been a better location. I mean, this looks absolutely gorgeous. The next day, I headed downtown to get a new tire from Africa Moto, a pretty famous motor shop in Medellin. The road out of Bella was like on a 45-degree slant, and you could tell like if you're not familiar with mountain roads like this and like me, this was very unsettling. Like I feel like I'm pitching forward the whole time. It's very uncomfortable. And I could not imagine anyone walking up this hill instead of using a motorized vehicle. And if you ever slide out on this hill like this, I can't imagine you not just tumble down like thousands of feet down to, oblivion. As I finished making it down the hill and into the town, you can see that the motorcycle shops are all all over the place. Every other store is a motorcycle repair or accessory shop, like one after the other. And motorcycles are definitely the culture in Colombia. That much is obvious. Eventually, I made it down to Africa Moto. I needed a new rear tire, and I asked them to show me what options they have, and I was shocked to see that the tires they brought out were like 10 years old. Um, and these are definitely like old stocks that they bought from other countries at a discount rate because they're way too old to be considered roadworthy in the US. So I finally got them to give me a tire that's only 5 years old. Okay. And they did not like that one bit. They thought I was, being super extra. So I was on my way out and I was just going to buy the tires and replace them myself when I recognized another traveler that I met in Central America, and he just happened to be there. So I was trying to be social. We're talking like, "Hey, what's going on?" And then I asked them how much it is for them to put the tire on so I can, chit chat with my friend here. And they told me it was $3. I was like, "All right, fine, whatever. Go ahead and do it." This was a mistake that I will have to pay later. After they put the new tire back on my bike, we headed back to Bello. The following morning, I discovered my starter relay went bad. Luckily, I kept the spare, and the swap only took like 10 minutes, so it wasn't that bad. We decided to do a tour of Medellin. We took the metro cable in Medellin to just experience the cable car riding experience.
So we're here at the metro station, kind of. We're looking for the metro cable card, and it's kind of complicated how to get there. And now we're near the metro rail, and you can see it says metro cable. And you can also see in the distance that there are some metro cable carts over there. Oh, you can't really see it because of the glare, but there you go. You see the metro cable carts over there. And yeah, I'm very excited. This is supposed to be really cool. We're finally getting ready to get on the cable card. Very exciting. I've ridden the cable card before, but only up the mountain and the ski resorts, and we're like going up to vacation mountains. This is first cable car ride, just sitting. Well, finally up on the cable car. We went through 2 stops, and now there's a lot less people in here. The first stop was so crowded. I think it was the first stop on the very bottom of the hill, and now we're going up to Santo Domingo on top of the hill, and there's only like 3 of us in the cart now, so much better.
Once we finished our city tour, we headed back to Bello. Next time, we visited Guatapé and my rear tire disaster.